Yes, I want to say good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another hot episode of The Mic is Hot. The Mic is Hot been cool for a long time, but we just want to fire back up and we got some hot topics tonight. We got three good questions and we got the text line is open, the phone line is open. Let me put that up on the screen so you guys can see it. If you out there, I know we didn't send an early notice out, but if you're out there and you hear this show, you can also go online on Facebook. You can send us a chat, send us a message, and we see your message. It's a good chance we can incorporate your message into our tonight's show. Also, our phone line is open. So if you want to give us a call and be respectful, give us a call. You got a question, a comment on the night show. We want to put you guys on the line live. Excuse me. I got two of my good friends right here. I got Big Time, one of the Atlanta Falcons' biggest Falcons fan. Should I say one of a big friend of Matt Ryan. He's a big Matt Ryan fan, and he definitely has some comments tonight about the fact that Matt Ryan has been traded, and he's going to air his opinion on that tonight. Uh, Mr. Anthony Hart, my man, my play-by-play announcer for the Georgia Media Network Services. He's a big Falcon fans, and he has his own podcast out there. Let me throw him up on the screen so I want people to know where they can find his podcast at. Because okay, let me get you at. It's over here. There we go. We got Mr. Anthony Harp is harping with sports. Anthony, are you there? Take you can unmute your phone right there for a second. I'm gonna let people know this is where they can find you at. You got your own podcast, and it's called Harping on Sports with Anthony Harp. Like I say, he's a great play-by-play announcer, good sports announcer. Hey guys, interested? Check him out online. He has one episode right now. And Anthony, are you there? Anthony. He's there. I see him there. I see his little avatar. There you go. Just want to tell people anything about your podcast here?
Yes, it is a podcast that talks about the landscapes of Major League Baseball, the National Football League, and the National Basketball Association, whether it be in preseason, regular season, postseason, or off season. There is always some form of news coming out of those leagues. And then also like to mix in something that I like to call franchise profile. It's pretty much where we look at the history of the franchises of the National Football League, Major League Baseball, and the National Basketball Association, just to give you an insights on where that franchise was yesterday and where they are today.
Awesome. We want to make sure you guys let me get this ticker going right here. Anthony Hollick say he's been with us. He's worked on the Georgia Media Network Services. As I'll show later in the show, some of the podcasts that we've done for the high schools in Clayton County and surrounding areas. And make sure you contact us at Georgia Media Network Services at your high school for free. Live streaming of one of your sporting events. Georgia High School Media Network Services provides a free service to high school, teaching students the art of mass media, learning how to do podcasting, video, photography, and other events. So contact us at 678-900-9840 or send us an email. Check out Georgia Media Network Services and give us a call today. Again, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the phone line here. If you want to give us a call, you want to jump in here. We're going to get hot and heavy here on the Falcons, Atlanta Falcons, and what's going on new with the Atlanta Falcons. We're probably a couple days behind, but the Falcons have traded Matt Ryan. And right now, a lot of people are very upset. Some people are bothered by it. Some people are very happy by it. But I got my man, Big Time, over here. I know he is a big fan of Matt Ryan. I don't know how he feels about the trade, but I'm gonna give him an opportunity to, once he gets settled over there, to let us know.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it set up. Go ahead.
Go ahead and get set up. We can continue talking. I'm gonna talk a little bit about it, and we'll let Mr. Hart join in right anywhere and talk a little bit about how he feels about it as well. Mr. Hart, doing the Matt Ryan trade. Let me see. My first question tonight is first question is: do you agree with the decision to trade Matt Ryan? What you got on that?
Which one of them make it go sideways? Fly to the car. If you are going to trade Matt Ryan, then I hope that you have some form of a follow-up plan to take place. Clearly, the Falcons, they were waist high deep in terms of pursuing Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun Watson is from Georgia, somewhere in Georgia. And he was very close to signing with the Falcons. Actually came down to the Falcons and the Saints. And clearly the Browns just came out of left field and took this thing. So by that, they made it very obvious that they wanted Deshaun Watson. So if they were to get Deshaun Watson, what does that do with Matt Ryan? Excuse me, not Matt Ryan. He has been to the Super Bowl before. He has won league MVP. So I've always, I won't say vouching for Matt Ryan, but I've always been one. I've always been one to believe that the woes of the Atlanta Falcons since the Super Bowl run, not all of it was on him. And now we have a new head coach who will be entering his second season along with the new general manager. They have to figure out a way to get this franchise to its third Super Bowl appearance, and that third time hopefully winning one. Now, Matt Ryan, he's been at the helm as Falcons QB and want to say for 14 seasons. But and Dennis, I know that you can remember this. There was a point in time where you had like certain players, they would stay with one franchise their whole career.
Right.
We fast forward to today's sports world, and that is something that's seemingly becoming extinct. You know, Matt Ryan was one of those few quarterbacks, Tom Brady and Russell Wilson. Those were like those franchise quarterbacks where you thought in your mind that this is the franchise that drafted them, and this is the franchise that they're going to retire playing for. And Matt Ryan got caught up in that. Hey, it's time to move on. So he moves on. And so now, at least for now, they're looking at they brought in Marcus Mariota, who was riding the bench behind Derek Carr for the Las Vegas Raiders after things did not go so well as a Tennessee Titan. So my question is he the answer? Outside looking in, I'd say no. If I'm the Falcons front office.
Hold on a second. Let's don't jump on Mariota right now. That's my next question. Let's just finish this part about Matt Ryan right now. We'll get on Mariota in a second because I want to get big time and get his take on the decision for Matt Ryan. Basically, like I said, the main thing we want to know right now is, was that a good decision? But I do have the question on Mariota coming up next.
Well, in terms of that a good decision, I guess we're gonna find out in the next 10 months from now. You know, okay. Because stop and think about it. I mean, you look at Peyton Manning. He got cut by the Colts. He goes to the Broncos. He wins the Super Bowl. Tom Brady. He leaves the Patriots. He goes to the Buccaneers off the first season with the Buccaneers and wins a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford. He got traded from the Lions to the Rams. He won a Super Bowl. Now, Matt Ryan,
is Matt
no longer a Falcon.
With the coach?
He is a Colt.
Well, let me. Can you hear me, D? Can you guys hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah, let me interject something here as we will continue that part of.
Camera a little bit. I can't hardly see your face. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, back up a little bit from the camera.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I got you. Go ahead.
I think
hold one second, Eddie. Just want to make sure you guys out there, if anybody's watching the show live right now, I know it's going to be replayed later, but this show, we always want to make sure we get fan experience. This is not Channel 5, Channel 2, 46, whatever, but we want your comments. The comment line is open. The phone line is open. If you go ahead and text and chat, and we'll read your text live on the air, and we're going to talk about it, because I know this thing with Matt Ryan and Marcus Mariota is a big topic right here in Atlanta. A lot of fans, either you love Matt Ryan or you hate Matt Ryan. There's no in between. And Mariota, we don't know a lot about him. And we got a couple of questions. We're going to talk about that later. But I want the fans to know that, hey, log in. If you're watching, don't just sit there and scan. Send a text, say, hey, look, I agree, I disagree. I agree or I disagree. You know, if you want to make more comments, then that's fine. but it's all about the people. We want you guys to log in. We want you to call. The phone line is here. It's open. Call the phone line, and we will put you online. As long as you got to be respectful. Though. We can't have any profanity like that on the line. But big time, I know he's a big fan of Matt Ryan. Has been for years, for the longest. But I'm excited to hear and want to hear what he got to say about his buddy Matt Ryan. Do you agree with the decision of trading Matt Ryan big time?
It was time for Matt to go.
Woo.
I'm gonna say that without any hesitation. But let me preface what I'm getting ready to say by saying this first. I am, and Dennis can attest to this, has been, will be, and continue to be Matt Ryan's biggest fan.
You probably got number 2 jersey on right now.
I have his jersey on, and I haven't taken it off since he's been traded. I think this city, this state, this football team, this owner, and all the fans owe Matt Ryan a big hug for what he brought to the city. We owe him gratitude for what he tried to do for this team. And with the respect he brought to this organization, is none like anybody I've seen in a long time. Mm-hmm. Given when he came in here, this organization has a history, as we know. Any fan know that this organization has a history of debacles and problems associated with players and off-field activities. When Michael Vick left this football team in the state it was in, this man, Matt Ryan, came in here and brought some respect to that position. And he did it for 14 years. And whether you like him, whether you don't like him, whether you then think he played well enough to take us to a championship, that's left up to those who feel whatever they feel. But I must say, I have always respected how he carried himself off the field and the way he played. Now, did he do a lot of bad things on the field? Has talent diminished in a lot of ways? Yes. But I do not think, and Dennis know we've had many debates as to why this man got more blame and ridicule and the likes of the worst football player at a position that I've ever seen before. I've never tried to defend his play. I would tell anybody I argue with, I cannot defend what he has not done on the field because there's too much film and too much tape that said just what these people have been saying. But Matt Ryan did not deserve the blame and the all the other that came with him and that team simply because Atlanta didn't win a championship. I'll say this lastly. Whoever heard me tonight, doesn't matter. The biggest problem with this team has been so far is his owner.
Oh,
Matt Ryan.
That's a shot. That's a shot.
Matt Ryan has been a problem, but he hasn't been the problem.
He's been a big part of the problem.
Like many others.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. But to that end, I bow my head to him, would give him all the respect that he deserved, and I wish him well going forward.
Okay, again, I just want to say anybody out there listening, anybody out there watching the show, if you're tuned in and you're logged in, I know that a lot of people, a lot of fans, again, there's haters out there. As Big Time will say, there's Matt Ryan haters, and there's people out there that love him, that don't like him. So I just want you guys to know that we want your opinion. We want to put your opinion out there. We want to give you a chance to talk. We want because this is a people's show, and we want people's opinion to find out how they feel about Matt Ryan and when he was a Falcon. Do you think Matt Ryan's going to be better when he get with the Colts, or is he going to be the same Matt Ryan? A lot of people, I think Hart spoke earlier about all the different quarterbacks the Colts had. They left and went to other teams. Peyton Manning went and got a Super Bowl. Different quarterbacks are moving from other leagues and they're moving around. A lot of people think that Matt Ryan is going to be better with a different team. Well, guess what? I'm not a hater of Matt Ryan. I've never been a hater of him. I just didn't like what I saw. And big time, no, I've always talked about I'm a Falcons fan. If it's not happening and we're not winning Super Bowls, well, we have done in the past year, like I said before, a lot of stuff been piled up and we hadn't been on the mic in a while, but we have got first round offensive linemen. We've got receivers. We've got all type of people to build around Matt Ryan being a better quarterback. No, yeah, Matt Ryan did okay. I just can't put him in that category. You get to a Super Bowl, you don't win a Super Bowl. Well, everybody wants to say blame different people for whatever, but when you talk about a team, you talk about the quarterback. Quarterback is the backbone of a team. The team goes as the quarterback goes. Yes, you got to have defense. We've had defensive players. We had good defense the year we went to Super Bowl. I mean, so my thing is, I'm going to tell you just like how I feel about it. I'm glad he's gone. It's time for him to go, move on. I actually, before the show started, I actually watched a video of him on the plane flying to Indy, and when he first got there, it was met by a lot of players. I wish him the best in Indy because he can't do nothing for Atlanta. I don't blame Arthur Blank. Arthur Blank is a businessman. He's making business decisions. That's why he got Rich McKay. That's why he got a new coach and a new defense, a new general manager. Now, in saying all that, the new general manager, his job, the new general manager and the new coach, Matt Ryan is not their guy. They got to find their own way. I think last year, coming into Atlanta, the coach thought he could actually change Matt Ryan and make Matt Ryan better. He did some things with Matt Ryan that was okay, but I think that sometimes Coach Arthur Smith, he knows what he's looking for, and right now I don't think he's seeing in Matt Ryan. I think he wants an opportunity to bring his guy in, and that's where Mario, what's his name, Marcus Mariota comes in hand. He's coached him before, he know him, and I think he believes that this guy's going to be what the Atlanta Falcons need. Of course, big time, we spoke about this earlier today and all this week. We need more than just a quarterback. We need more than just a quarterback. So, yes, I'm not going to jump ahead. I got some questions. I'm not going to jump ahead. I could actually add some stuff in, but I'm going to ask those questions later. So, yeah, that's the. Anybody want to comment on that? Hart, you want to comment on what we talked about so far before I go to the next question? Big time, you got the comments on that?
Yeah, I'm gonna let Hart go. I'll follow, or I can go either or.
Hart, what you got? Comment? No comment? You got?
Well, let me speak against respond to what you said. I totally disagree that the problem is in part, if not whole, on Arthur Blank, because he put the money in this guy. He failed to get other guys. And when I say he failed to do it, he didn't personally do anything. He's not a GM. He's not the president. He has the final say, though. And if he know anything about football, his eyes shouldn't fool him to know that this team was not built the right way to win a championship, given the circumstances around what went on. Now, you say, well, we had a good defense. We went to the Super Bowl. No, we did not. We had a bunch of young guys who had just been drafted, and what got us to the Super Bowl was our offense. And what caused us to lose the Super Bowl was our lack of defense, because we couldn't stop them when we needed to. That is the New England Patriots. So when you say the defense was good, the offensive line, yeah, well, you can always name some things that wasn't what they supposed to be, but you can't expect a quarterback that you, after a number of years of watching him, I'm talking about 5 or 6 years into it, you knew Matt Ryan didn't have the deep ball threat. You knew Matt Ryan's arm wasn't strong. You knew Matt Ryan was a pocket quarterback. You knew Matt Ryan held the ball too long. You got to take what this guy was and build around him to promote his skills to a level to get you where you need to go. I don't recall the last time, for example, where we had a pass rush. Even when Abraham was here, Abraham was in the eve of his career. He was not good enough to really put impact. And if you got one defensive end, that's not enough, because the other team is simply going to double team him. Now, I'm not making excuses for Matt Ryan. If he was good enough to carry what they had to the championship, perhaps he would have. But you putting the fans, and you, Dennis, specifically, and many others, put all the blame on him because you said, okay, the quarterback made the team. Yeah, he does. But let me give you the example of a number quarterback that won the championship, and the quarterback wasn't team just last year. Last year, the year that the Falcons should have won in 2012, when they played, when they would have played the Baltimore Ravens, it wasn't Flacco, it was Ray Lewis. The year that the Philadelphia Eagles beat the New England Patriots, it was their defense. Defense win you championships, and defense got to make key stops. And this organization never had that in under this man's tenure. They never had it. Should he have played better that helped them win a championship? Very much, yes. Very much so. But you can't put the blame on him like many fans had. I think most fans were frustrated. And they spoke out of emotions when they talked about Matt Ryan. This guy got a lot of yards. This guy going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. This guy breaking records. Now, I'm not making excuses. I'm not building them up. I'm just simply saying, while he was here, I don't think the organization did enough to put around him players that promoted his skill. Instead, they kept players. For example, how you going to bring a speedster in here like Julio Jones, and you got a quarterback that can't get the ball to him? How you, okay, well, Matt Ryan supposed to just get a strong arm and be able to throw the ball down the field? How are you going to do that? You got to get what the guy can do and make that better. And the Falcons didn't do a good job of that. They just didn't do it, man. And yet,
so
Matt
you said it didn't do a good job of bringing the right people in, or Matt Ryan just wasn't getting the job done?
They didn't do a good job of bringing the right people in.
Well, the Falcons played. You're Roddy White. But Tony Gonzalez, and Matt Ryan couldn't get the ball to him. Now remember who you're talking to. I'm on the sideline for years. For 16 years, I've been on the NFL sideline, looking right at the face of Matt Ryan and looking at the receivers, and people are wide open. Matt Ryan's not getting the ball to him. I mean, this is happening.
Let me ask you this question.
This just happened last year. This happened at least 3-4 years ago.
Okay, but what
the year after they went to Super Bowl, Matt Ryan started declining at that point, and he declined all the way through. Matt Ryan has not gotten better. So
you know he can't. Let me respond to that by saying this. Okay, you know you can't get the ball to him. Well, then you go in and get a Sanu. You go in and bring in a Calvin Ridley. You started bringing these speedsters receivers in when you know Matt can't get in the ball. Meanwhile, this is important. Meanwhile, your offensive attack is pass first. If you knowing this man can't do these things, why not get a coach and a running back in here and say, let's run the ball? That's what we're going to accent. When the New Orleans Saints realized that Drew Brees' skill was diminishing, they brought in Kamara. And they became a running team around Kamara. When the New Orleans Saints knew that Drew Brees' skills was diminishing, and it was happening way before we can really say it was, they upped their defense. This is what good organizations do. If this is your guy, you got to build to his strength and not to his weaknesses. That's Matt's fault. Well, a man ain't gonna get better with something that he has always done wrong unless a coach or somebody convince him that you got to do this and get the player. Getting Julio Jones, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones will never really connection the way they ought to be because Matt Ryan wasn't the quarterback that can get the ball to a guy like that. But yet they paired them two together and meanwhile paid them more money than they paid anybody else on the team. Arthur Blank came out and, for example, and said Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are Falcons for life. Really?
He said the same thing about Michael Vick. He said the same thing about Michael Vick. It doesn't matter. Huh?
But look how it turned out, D. You look how it turned out.
But Arthur Blank made the decision to keep Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan should have been gone 3 years ago.
But look how it turned out. That's what I'm telling you.
Everybody out here listening to in the media talking today in the last 2 or 3 days, everybody's saying we should have picked the quarterback up last year. We knew Matt Ryan was going to be here this past season, but last year's draft, we should have got a quarterback. We'd have been set. Now we got to start all over. We got 3 more years. This boy put this team 3 years behind So we're trying to catch back up again.
Then how having picked up a quarterback, which I agree with that, not for us guaranteeing that we're gonna win now. You can have any quarterback on this team you wanted last year in picking up in the draft. This team has too many other needs for it to be better under whoever the quarterback is. Now, better by a few games, yes. Better to win a division, no. Better to win a Super Bowl, no. Yeah, we were behind the 8 ball, but you don't have the team because you had bad contract. You in cap hell. You have a lot of issues. You got guys. It's just go on and on and on. This is one of the worst ran organizations I've seen in football in my 50 years of watching football in the NFL. One debacle after another over the last 15 years.
I'm sitting there looking at. Move a little bit to your left because I see a light. Move your camera. Turn your camera a little bit to the left because the light behind you makes you like a silhouette. That right light behind your head is right.
Yeah.
It makes you like a silhouette. So I'm trying to get you away from that light if I can. Just turn your chair a little bit more to the left. And you there? Harp, I'm there. Harp, you got your phone muted. If you don't mind taking your mute off, because I can't unmute you. It tells me that you got it muted and you have to unmute yourself. I want you to jump in on this conversation and let me know how you feel about this. Arthur Blank and
why you bringing him in? Here's what my whole point is. We talking about Matt Ryan because he has been the face of the franchise for the last, since he's been here. But the problems, ladies and gentlemen, has and is bigger than just one player. It has been for a long time. It was when we made Vic the same thing we have in Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was hated, Vic was loved. And look how it turned out. Look how it turned out, people. We never did nothing with it.
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I'm not saying Matt Ryan is the total problem. We understand defense win championship. We know that. But there's several opportunities to Matt Ryan, some things that he could have done. You got to keep, I'm going to tell you, man, you got to keep your defense off the field. If you expect for your defense to perform, I don't know what I listen to people talk on some of these other radio stations, and they talk about, well, we need this on defense, we need that on defense. Yes, that's true. But we can't keep going three and out, putting the defense on the field. I heard one of the NFL Pro Bowlers say the same thing. If those guys on the field for a long period of time, those guys, it's like one of those fast, what is it, a cougar? A cougar is one of the fastest animals on earth that can run. That cougar can run fast, but if he got an animal that runs it for a long period of time, after a while he can't run no more. And that's what happened to our defense. You can run strong when you first start, but if you keep putting that defense back on the field, you're gonna slow them down, and your performance is gonna go down. And that's how we lost the Super Bowl. We lost the Super Bowl because the offense couldn't stay on the field long enough to burn some time. That's one thing I look at when I watch football games.
We had a 28-3 lead.
Huh?
What the heck are you talking about in Super Bowl? We had a 28-3 lead.
Right.
We don't need to score anymore.
If the offense had stayed on the field and we'd have drove the ball down the field, if we'd have used more time possession, if I'm not mistaken, they used almost 20 minutes more of offensive time possession. When that happens, that means our defense is on the field. We went to overtime, but our defense still on the field. Those guys were depleted, man. Those guys were depleted.
I agree with that, but you making it seem like if the defense never stopped them guys. When we got up 23, it wasn't the defense.
They stopped them up for 3 quarters. They stopped them for 3
quarters. No, they didn't. Atlanta was outscoring them. Now they didn't have the same up score, but Atlanta was scoring so much on them, they shocked them. Our defense was very weak that year, D. We've never had a good defense. I don't recall us ever having a good defense. We had above average. D. We haven't had a pass rusher in the last 10 to 15 years since Abraham was here. And when Abraham came here, Abraham was
superb, man. The year we went to Super Bowl, we were superb. If we wouldn't have had a defense, we wouldn't have got there. I disagree with you on that question. The year we went to the Super Bowl. Arthur Blank is not the problem. I think Arthur Blank wants a good team. But Arthur Blank is not a football coach, and he's not a general manager. He don't know much about the game. I think he did the best thing by hiring a new general manager, bringing someone in to shake things up a little bit. That's why we're in a rebuilding stage. I like the fact that we are rebuilding. We got a new general manager.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think that in the 14 years that Matt Ryan been here, you don't think Arthur Blank had a responsibility, or if he should have, stepped into somebody, not him, and said, "We got to move this guy."
Blank's a businessman. He paid people
Well,
to
no,
make
you
those
keep putting the businessman by foot. He's a businessman that got a football team, and he watching the same thing. He watching the same game that you and I watching. In fact, he's closer to them game than we are. He's standing right there on the sideline when the Falcons had the lead in Dallas, and the guy kicked the onside kick. And Arthur Blank was standing right by the ball when the spinning right landed and then fall on it. He saw enough right there in front of him that he has to go to somebody and say, "I'm a businessman. Somebody got to be held accountable." Instead of firing Dan Quinn, he signed Dan Quinn to a 1-year extension. And you know what the Falcons did? And you know what the Falcons did when they signed Dan Quinn to a 1-year extension? They went in and bought Derek Cutter back in after he had them messed up in Tampa. I can go on and on. You cannot take that blame off Arthur Blank just because he got the money, he owns the team.
Listen.
If he didn't have nothing to do with the team, if he was some corporate guy that was in an office and said, you know, I got a bunch of other owners that got to say something about this, I can say, okay, maybe he is a businessman that this part of the many entities he got. He right there. The final decision stopped with him. He right there on the sideline. Mike Smith came on the radio the other day and said Arthur Blank sat in meetings with them every week. He was an integral part of what's going on. And if maybe somebody can't tell him what he need to know, but that man had a responsibility to say, I don't like the way Matt Ryan plays. I got to replace him. He kept that man, and Matt Ryan said today in his interview, he thought he was going to be a Falcons for life because Arthur Blank, he didn't say this part, but Arthur Blank gave him the mindset that you're going to be here no matter how well or how bad you play.
Anthony, jump in there. You got your mic. I think you're muted right now. You hear the show. I know you hear the show. I need you to jump in and help me out on this one. I need to get your comment. It's about your comments, man. We want to know what everybody feels. And I want to remind everybody out there that's watching the show tonight, if you watch it live or if you watch it later, you can still put your comments in. And the next show we have, I'll make sure I speak about the comments that you guys on your opinion. The question of the day is, do you agree with the decision of the trade of Matt Ryan? And big time, he's basically saying that one of the problems we have with the Falcons is the owner, and they made a decision to wait this long to trade him.
Wait too long. Wait too long. We should have got rid of the general manager 3 years ago.
Yeah,
and
I put the blame on the general manager. I don't put it on the owner because, like I said, the coaches. You got Rich McKay was the first general manager. Then they brought in Dimitrov. Listen, man, you got too many people above you. Arthur Blank is known to let people do their job. That's what he paid them all that money to do.
I'm not going to allow nobody to sit right there and constantly. I'm owning a company, and I'm going to sit right there and seeing my company failing. And I'm going to keep on saying, well, these guys that I hired, they're supposed to get it right. I'm going to replace some people who I hired to get it right. If I can't do it myself, I'm going to find somebody else. And Arthur Blank problem is he continued to hold on to people too long. Excuse me. He hold on people too long because he giving them time and time and time again. He kept Mike Smith too long. From one reason to he patching work. Then when Dan Quinn came in here, kept him too long. When we had the other coach, Maury, he kept him too long. This man had to go on a radio station out in Seattle and say, I want to coach a college football team for Arthur Blank to get mad. This coach that he brought in from Arkansas had to walk out in the middle of the night and leave the team and called him and said he quitting. And Arthur Blank still said, I got to give. Come on. I'm sick of it. Why I'm arguing this thing about Matt Ryan, the MVP of this team, is too much blame has been placed on him for this team not having won. And simply what I am saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that the blame is spread wide. But the person who holding the net of the blame is Arthur Owner Blank.
Strong words. Strong words. I don't know what to say, man. I hear you. If you're still there, please come on and give us your opinion. If you're not, I understand. But what I want to say, I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna let it go. You got a good point, but I just can't put all the blame on Arthur Blank. You've done so much for this team, and I believe that even as the owner, I'm gonna say this right here, then we're gonna go to this question number 2. I believe as an owner, I think when you hire people, you pay people a lot of money, which you was paying Dimitrov a lot of money, and you expect them to do their job. He had Dimitrov several years. He took him to the Super Bowl. Every year, Dimitrov came up with excuses why they wasn't winning. And I think Arthur Blank just, once he hired the new general manager, the new coach, he gave him 1 year, and they realized that this team was in trouble, and we really needed to change some things. And so we moved on from Matt Ryan, but now we got a new problem. My next question: is Marcus Mariota the best choice for the Falcons? Or is there any other choice? You think Marcus Mariota is the best choice for the Falcons? Big time. Your opinion?
Well, I'm going to answer that question like this. I don't know if this applies, but I'm going to try to put it this way. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig.
Dang. Who you call a pig, man?
I'm just using that example. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. You don't change the pig, it's still a pig. Marcus Mariota came out of college, if I'm not mistaken, as a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yes.
He got drafted into the NFL, and he has been a bust. He was a starting quarterback at the Tennessee Titans, and the same coach that he is finna to play for now benched him. He benched him. And he left there, and he was a second stringer in Oakland. The only reason he's here is because he's the best player available out there right now as a quarterback. And there is some connection having coached under the same coach that gives the Falcons reason to believe that we just simply won't look like we throwing anybody out there behind quarter or center, and we're going to go into a losing season, with a season expecting to lose. Is he the answer 100%? I don't know. But I will say this. I do not believe if you have shown that you are an average quarterback, you just not all of a sudden, and I ain't talking about a couple of years, I'm talking about to the tune of 5, I think 7 years. He's been in the league for 7 years. If it was a year, maybe, or 2, no, I wouldn't say that as much. But you've been in the league long enough to show just who you are. And you're not going to get a whole lot better when the same coach that benched you is bringing you up to be their starting quarterback for a team that's in a tailspin. I would probably believe deep down inside, it's just a hypothetical statement, that Arthur Smith probably said, I don't want that guy because I'm going to see the same thing that I benched him for up in Tennessee.
What
and lastly,
let me ask you this. Do you think he's the best choice for now? We realize that he's probably not going to be the future for the Falcons, but do you think he's the best choice out there? Because we waited kind of late to do this. A lot of quarterbacks that were released from other teams, a lot of good quarterback choices have already been chosen and moved on to different teams. But do you think he's a good choice for the Falcons for right now?
I would believe so. I would believe so because again,
Franks, we got is Felipe Franks, the other boy from Alabama, which I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna be on the schedule after the draft.
Yeah, and I'm quite sure, D, that there are other quarterbacks that's out there, not highly known with name recognition, that the Falcons probably could have signed. But I would believe, to answer your question, this is the best choice because there is some belief we have to hope that if this guy already has been coached by the head coach, he won't take as long learning the nuances of the new coach, the head coach. He won't probably be so far behind in learning the play calling, the signal calling, and the whole connection. There's a connection between that coach and player, that quarterback, that needs to be there. And this guy, to answer again your question, probably the best choice. But do I believe he's gonna make the Falcons have a much better season than what Matt Ryan did, or would he have a much better season than what we expect? No, because we have too many needs, and he ain't that great. He just not. He hold the ball a little long. He loved to scramble. He can do that. He loved to run the ball. And with a poor offensive line that we have, he gonna probably do a lot of running, which does increase the probability of him getting injured. But I do give the Falcons a B on signing him, because you're basically telling the fans and the league, we're just not going to throw any team out there and expect them to lose. We coming in here expecting to win some games. And I believe they probably win more than they would have if they had Filippo Franks and the other guy. They got Adrian, the other guy they have on the team. I can't think of his name.
Yeah,
McCarron, yeah. Okay. Apparently they didn't believe in those two guys, so that's why they had to sign this guy.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, and if you out there, I want to get your comment on that before I go to my last question. If you out there, I just didn't know. I see we have some technical difficulties on your side, kind of going in and out, but your mic is actually muted right now, and it's not allowing me to unmute your mic. I'll give you an opportunity to unmute your mic to give your opinion before we move on to that last question. All right. I just want to remind everybody out there, if you guys are listening to the show tonight, again, I want you guys to go online right now, and we have a phone line open. You can actually call in and be a part of the show, or you can actually go online and chat your comments based on our topics tonight. The first question was the Matt Ryan trade was a good choice, and well, do you agree with the Matt Ryan trade? And also, is Marcus Mariota the best choice for the Falcons? Anybody else out there that the Falcons could have picked up to replace Matt Ryan with? But we realized, and we haven't talked a whole lot about it, but the biggest thing was of last week was what's the quarterback name that we couldn't get?
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson. And all this happened because of Deshaun Watson got on the market. He really wanted to be a Falcon because he was a ball boy for the Falcons, and he really wanted to play for Atlanta. He contacted Atlanta, and the choice got down to Atlanta, and it got down to New Orleans as the two final team. But I think Cleveland was also in the mix at one time, but I think Cleveland said that we really need this cat. So they put out a really nice figure for him. And I do believe that Sean probably came back to Atlanta and said, well, listen, this is what they're offering me. And can you guys meet that or get close to that amount? And Atlanta probably said no. And that's when they had to move on. And when that decision was made, it's kind of like you kind of put Matt Ryan on notice during that time that he's probably going to be traded. And when the decision was made and we didn't get him, and he did go to the Browns with an astronomical number. I can't remember, it was 200-something thousand, close to 200 million. I'm sorry, $200 million. It was a nice figure and about 3 first-round picks, which I kind of agree. I wouldn't give up that much either because we need too many places. What's your comment on that, Big Time?
Well, not to dive back in that last question, but I'm tying it in. I'm bringing in just a little bit to expand on this point about this kid Mariota, and also, to say about the Falcons as an organization. The Falcons, they made errors in that Deshaun Watson possible acquisition. And one of the key areas that I think they made was allowing their decisions to be exposed by agreeing to or letting it get out in the public or whatever it was that they were in this negotiation with this kid. And I think that the way that was handled, it forced them to have to move Matt Ryan sooner, because they didn't want to sign him that extra bonus that they were to sign him. But I believe it would have allowed them the opportunity to shop Matt Ryan to other teams. And that would have gave them a bit more leverage in perhaps getting Deshaun. Mm-hmm. But the way they handled it, by again letting it get out that they were actually in negotiations, you know what I mean? By confirming it, you can't stop what somebody had to leak something for it to get out in the media. And that's a thing that this group seemed not to do as well. They do try to control the narrative, but they don't and have not. So they're forced to have lost that guy. I don't know whether he would have commanded as much as he got with Cleveland if he had been signed with the Falcons. And then so when that didn't happen, they had to almost clearly send Matt Ryan on his way. And then here's the next thing, D. They could have signed Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is out there. But obviously you would have been putting yourself in a trap chance because he would only been able to have been signed for 1 year. And next year you got to give him a big contract to ensure that he stays here. So it's just one debacle after another. And it, again, it's consistent with this organization. And the main guy that's at the head of it is the owner. He done changed GMs, he done changed coaches, players, but he's still the owner. And the same things are going on. Just the week before this trade thing about Deshaun, we had one of the players that they went and drafted, in my opinion, when they didn't even need him, in the person of Calvin Wrigley. He went out and was caught gambling. Ladies and gentlemen, I can go on and on and on.
Let me get answer jump because he's been in and out. He's been listening to us. He said he had technical difficulties, but I want to get his opinion on that thing. And go ahead, Dan, speak up. You there? I heard something moving a minute ago. All right, are you there? Can you hear me? Four, three, two, one. Sound like you're catching your breath. Go ahead. And do me a favor. Call the phone line. Call the phone line. I can put you on the phone line. Even if I can't hear you on the thing, just call the phone line and I'll talk to you on the phone. That way I can still have your icon up and we can talk on the phone like we did before. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Call the phone line. But go ahead. You saying something about Kevin Ridley big time?
Yeah. So, but it's tied back into this kid with Marcus Mariota. He again, going back to that question. Yes, he's the best thing. If the Falcon does not make a move either this year or next year in the quarterback position, it'll be another example of how they mess things up. It's bad, people. It is very bad. And it's not going to get better soon.
You live online. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
I typed in the chat that I haven't been able to hear what you two were talking about for quite some time.
Okay, that's fine. You're live right now, but go ahead and talk right now. You got your comments on the question we're on right now?
Yes, but during that long sermon by Mr. Big Time, I did hear he said that Falcon. I did hear where he said that Matt Ryan is a Hall of Famer, as in canon or as in the Falcons Ring of Honor. Because if you say as in canon, I gotta pump the brakes on that.
You finna start something now.
That's something that I cannot say that I am all the way in on. Now, pertaining to, I also heard where it was stated that Arthur Blank is the Arthur Blank is the one to be blamed. Well, stop and think about it. When outside of Jerry Jones, but then again, not really, what owner do you know suffers all kinds of criticism for their team not performing well? Let's stop and think about it. It's always the quarterback, it's always the head coach, it's always the general manager. But when has a owner in any league to be under fire, to be under scrutiny, to be under pressure to win? And they're the ones that are signing the checks.
Are you directing that question to Big Time, or are you just making a statement?
Combination of both. I was responding to what I heard Mr. Big Time had said, and that last statement was really in the form of a question. When was
Okay.
the
Well, let me
time
re-
we had
let,
more?
let me re- let me respond to this way. An organization is as good as it is how it's ran, and how it's ran is going to equal how much winning they do. And when I'm saying winning in this organization has been the losses have been more off the field and that type of stuff with the player personnel and the certain things that are going on as much as has been on the field, and the off the field screw ups has been based on how the owner has allowed it to happen. Going back from Vic to the coach from Arkansas leaving in the middle of the night to just I can go on and on and on about the things that has occurred with off the field stuff that has been has resulted in a negative effect of how they're playing on the field. And another thing, this owner has been the problem holding on people too long. If guys aren't doing what you expect them to do, you know what I mean? I mean, I hear people say,
That
"Well,
part
Michael Vick."
I can actually go along with, because honestly, I felt like Thomas Dimitrov, he stayed a lot longer than what he ought to. Personally, I felt as though that Thomas Dimitrov should have left with Mike Smith. And Mike Smith, last I checked, he was is the winningest head coach in Falcons history. The reason why he was shown the door, because the last 2 or 3 seasons he went like 10 wins and 21 losses. Then comes in the Dan Quinn era, who I was of the belief that he was held on a little bit too longer than what he ought to.
Yeah, and that's a problem. And then you go down to Tampa and you go get an offensive coordinator who had been a coach before that you fired in Derek Cutter, and you bring him back into your organization to be an offensive coordinator, and when he hadn't proven anything. These off the field activities, bad moves, they have a negative effect on your team winning. Winning starts off the field first. And if your organization is poorly ran, your chances of winning a championship or being a winning organization is slim. So that's why I put the blame on him. And Dennis always argues he doesn't know football. He's a businessman. He looking at this and seeing this. If he's a great owner, he should be able to see what is a problem. If he allowed people in Home Depot to keep on making mistakes, like he's allowed the personnel at the Falcons from player personnel to coaches, Home Depot would have never been successful. But he said, well, maybe this is a side entity. I love it. It's fun. It don't matter to me whether we win or lose. And we, as a fan base, have suffered. And so what we have emotionally, a lot of us have emotionally wrapped our anger around number 2 and said, that's the reason. Or we ripping around Vic. Oh, Vic was the problem. Or we ripping around this guy, that guy. It's the organization and how it's ran.
I've always been a believer in it takes the right group of people and the right system at the right time to make this thing happen. I mean, we look at the Patriots, we can look at the Spurs, say what you want about the Braves winning 1 championship in their consecutive division title run. The right players, right system, right front office personnel, right coaching staff, all that has to be in sync in order for dominance to happen. That really has not happened. Now, Matt Ryan, he has caught a lot of smoke and a lot of heat. Now, there have been some plays and some passes where I said to myself, "Hey, what was that?" But to just put the entire burden and just put the entire blame on the quarterback, specifically for the Atlanta Falcons, I can't get on board with that. But then again, he's the quarterback. He is the franchise quarterback. He's either in football, he's either the quarterback, he's either the head coach or the GM that is going to catch the smoke. It is never the owner. Now, you speaking of owner, and I would have to do my thorough research on this, but outside of Jerry Jones, who else, what other owner do you know has experience actually playing football on the football field?
There you go.
I don't listen. I don't know anyone, but I know this, even though I'm not in that organization, their owners see and know what they like and know what they expect. And you don't have to have played. All the owners are successful in their area of what made them an owner. So they're not dumb guys and they're not poor guys. They are good businessmen. And they have not ran businesses that have made them billionaires and owning a football team, not making good decisions. Why Arthur Blank has done that, I don't know. I know the pressure is not per se on him because he owned the team, he built the stadium, but your fan base, you've lost them because you ran the organization poorly. It is just, he got to take, you don't never, I don't know an owner that I can remember has ever got on in a public forum and made two players, which is what Arthur Blank did to three players, Michael Vick, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and said publicly, these guys are Falcons for life. What? You don't say that. You just screwed up the salary cap and everything else.
Well, when you got that kind of money, you can say that because, like I said before, my opinion is, like I said before, Arthur Blank is a businessman, and he hired people like Rich McKay and the new general manager to do their job, and he expects them to do their job. It takes a while. Don't get me wrong. He probably talked to other owners out there, but I agree with what Andy said a few minutes ago. He don't know football like that. He know business, but he don't know football. He like watching the game. He's like a fan, like most people, but he has the money to put up to do what he has to do. He's not hurting for any money. He's not hurting. If he was hurting, he'd be like the Smith family were years ago. They were real stingy and didn't want to do anything. So he created all this fan base to try to make it good for the fans to be able to come to the ball game, whatever. I'm not blaming Arthur Blank. Again, I go back and say I'm not blaming Arthur Blank. I blame the people that he hired. I think if he made a mistake, he made a mistake when he hired Rich McKay.
Well, you fire him. But if the buck stop with you and you can fire these people, I don't say fire me 1 year. Here's one of his major problems. He hold on to people too long. If you got a coach, just like your man just said, with Smith, with Dimitroff, with Dan Quinn, he held these guys too long. Even Rich McKay, he probably held them too long. You don't allow anyone to fail and they keep a job for a long time. And this is what Arthur Blank has allowed. Nobody does that. You constantly failing. There's enough good GMs, enough good presidents and good whatever. You can go in and say, you know what? Hey, guy, I gave you 4 years. You haven't been successful. I'm moving on. And I don't want him being involved like Jerry Jones and picking players and so forth. But he has enough knowledge about what he doesn't like or what he likes to say, you know what? I'm going to make a change. And he hasn't done it often enough for me.
Now, let me pose a question to that. Can the business side of running a franchise and the X's and O's of player personnel, can they coexist in the mindset of an owner?
D, go ahead.
We're talking about running a business, running a franchise. Yes, a lot of these owners, that's what they do. They are businessmen. But like I said, outside of Jerry Jones, who knows the business side and who knows the football side, the X's and O's, there's Arthur Blank knows the X's or O's. He doesn't even necessarily play. He can coaching staff.
I don't agree. I don't think so. Like I said, my opinion is, and I'm going to stick with that. He's a businessman. He don't know football. He's watching the game. A lot of times the general managers are teaching them the side of where we get, let's get this guy, let's get that guy, let's get this coach, let's do this. We're missing this, we're missing that. And the coaches are telling the general manager going back to the owner, and that's what he's getting. That's why the draft. Dimitroff said 2 years ago, he said, we knew we were going to get this guy. We knew you knew who you want to get. What about the coach? That's why Dimitroff should have been gone 4 years ago. But anyway, we got to move on to the next question. I know we can beat the dead horse down for the longest, but I got another question because we've been on here for a minute now, and I want to try to wrap it up. I know you guys got stuff to do. Let's see, last question. What was that? The last question, I'll get it up in just a second. But the question is, do you think the Falcons should pick up a quarterback in this draft? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Should the Falcons draft another quarterback? I'm listening. Nobody said anything.
Yeah, well, I'll wait for him to go. I can respond to it.
Go ahead. Go ahead. In this draft.
In this draft,
Yeah.
I would say keep your options open. It's kind of like, yes, I'm in a relationship with Janet Jackson, but let me keep my eyes open for, Megan Thee Stallion or for Adina Howard or for Rihanna. As I stated earlier in the show, I'm not so sure that Marcus Mariota is the heir apparent. Personally, I felt like they should have took a much closer look in the draft for a quarterback last season. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But as for this season, as for this upcoming NFL draft, keep your options open. And for what it's worth, there's no guarantee that Marcus Mariota is even going to make it to training camp. He could be a piece that could be moved in a trade to move up, to move down, etc., etc. So I am definitely saying that the Falcons should keep their eyes open in the NFL draft.
Big time, big time.
Well, I agree with him 100%, and I will go further by even saying, I would probably move back. I certainly would not take a quarterback if one is available, and I'm quite sure one will be at number 8. I would drop back to try to get extra picks to fulfill the many needs that we have. However, at the same time, if there are 2 quarterbacks that I've read and heard is out there that may be pretty good. You never know about a draftee. And so if one of those quarterbacks are available at a time you have to pick, maybe you should get him, because you need to get somebody in here and start to getting them acclimated to this new coach's style and new coach calling and so forth and so on. To sit back and say, I'm going to ride Marcus Mariota till next year when there supposedly is a better draft class, I don't know whether I'll do that. We are already a year behind in the quarterback position. And to go in now and
spent a lot of money for Mariota. What is it? Was it 18 million a year, or was it 18 million for 2 years?
Yeah, that's a small amount. Next year they'll have a lot of money under the cap next year. So they'll have money, especially having come off the books with Wrigley and Matt Ryan. So the 18 million, just stay throwing it in there. But I agree with Hart that Mariota is not the guy. It's like I was telling you earlier. You don't become good after you've been bad for the last 7 years. It's just like Jameis Winston. I don't believe Jameis Winston going to be much better than what he has already shown the league. And no matter who he's under and who he's behind, and Mariota is this, Marcus is the same way. The Falcons need to make a move and do what they got to do, but keep their options open. We are behind time at one of the most key positions on the field, that is the quarterback. We need to get somebody in here and started to get them under this new coach's play calling and see what we can do going forward. Build a team from the ground up, but start at quarterback.
I agree. I'm going to give you my opinion on that. I don't think the Falcons need to get a draft this year. I think they need to wait. I think they need to wait till next year. You already made a decision to bring Marcus Mariota in. And I think that I believe Marcus Mariota can hold the ground. He can at least hold his team to at least where Matt Ryan was, if not better. Because I watched this guy. I had a picture up earlier. One thing we got with Marcus Mariota. Let me talk. One thing we got with Marcus Mariota, we got a scrambling quarterback. We got a throwing quarterback. He's a pretty good arm. We just brought back what's the guy name that we had released? We brought him back. I think that we hang on.
You need to read. You need to read the stats, man. Marcus Mariota is a bust.
Okay, we'll see. I mean, I like the fact. I like the fact. I like the fact that he played. I hear what you're saying, but we wasn't going anywhere with Matt Ryan, so I don't think we had a whole lot to lose. I think this cat can get us. So
we're gonna be better with him.
The schedule right here. I think he can get us several wins and we might not win the division, but I think we'll at least finish. We'll be better than what we finished last year. I think we won 7 games last year. I think we'll win more games than that with Mark.
Are you man? You
And I like.
I want what you drink. I want what you drinking tonight.
I'm liking the fact that I'm drinking.
I want what you drinking because I need some of that.
Water.
My goodness,
straight water. I like the fact that he came from Arthur Smith. He worked with him before, and that's to me that's a little bit of edge.
Let me ask. Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question, D? And I want to ask Art the same question.
Drinking water.
Do you believe that Dan Tannehill, the quarterback of Tennessee, is better than Matt Ryan?
Tennessee,
no.
I would say yeah because they went a lot further than we did.
No. I'm talking about they overall team. I'm talking about individually. You got to.
Is Hall of Fame worthy than more than what Matt Ryan is?
I'm not putting Hall of Fame in the equation. I'm looking at where he took his team last year. His team came, I think, one game.
No, he didn't take his team. No, what took his team was the defense and that running back. He's an average quarterback. He's an average quarterback, people. I'm telling you, do you think that Matt Ryan is better than Jimmy Garoppolo of San Francisco?
No, I don't. I don't.
Ooh-wee.
Matt Ryan is not in his prime stage.
Now I'm asking these questions because I asked. Let me.
Knowing you big time, you're talking about past Matt Ryan, what he's done in the
No. Listen, D.
As of last year, no.
D, listen. Let me tell you why I brought that up. I brought that up because Matt Ryan, in my opinion, is not about Matt Ryan, but I'm bringing it up to say this: Matt Ryan has been better than Jimmy Garoppolo and Tannehill. But this guy that we talking about as our quarterback right now was replaced by Tannehill.
Okay.
So how he gonna come in here and do better?
That's a coach's decision, man. You know.
Well, he didn't do that. He did it because this guy that we have as a quarterback now is below average. He's a very average quarterback.
Oh, I agree. He's not the future of the Falcons. The years yet to come, and I promise you, on the prediction show, I'm looking at the schedule right now. It's not the schedule, but it tells the team we're gonna play this year. I think we're gonna win more games than we won last year. Would you agree to that or disagree?
Oh my God, are you serious? We have no running game. We have no wide receiver. We have no defense. If Grady Jarrett gone, we have nobody on defense except AJ Terrell. This kid, we got one of the worst schedules, most difficult schedule twice over what we had last year. I give us 4 games this year. 4 games win. We are very weak and below average team. This guy is not the guy. Now, is he better than Sanchez, the guy that we got on the team already? Or is he better than the other quarterback, the other guy we have? Probably is.
That's on the Falcons that I never even heard of before.
Yes, we got all these 1-year guys that we signed. We got so many needs. This guy ain't no way. Whether Matt Ryan do better in Indy or not, I don't know. But I know he is on a much better team that gives him a much better chance to do better. This team is in total rebuild.
I do believe the Colts they stand a better chance of going to the Super Bowl than what the Falcons do, because when I thought that it was going to come down between the Saints and the Falcons for the sweepstakes, yes, I agree with Mr. Big Time. The Falcons, on both sides of the ball, they have far too many holes to fill in.
Yeah.
You look at
Hello? Hello?
You there? I'm sorry. I had to cough, so I muted for just a second. You still have Big Time?
No, go ahead. He was speaking.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
What I'm exactly saying is that, and I'm gonna roll like this. I was trying to tell you the reason I think we should wait another year. Let's get this kid in here, man, and give him opportunity. We already in a rebuild. We are a total rebuild, like you said before. And I don't think give us a chance to build on to what we got. defense and end rusher. Get some guys on defense. I mean, let's build the team up. And next year, let's take that money and go out and hope we're gonna have a lot of better a quarterback drafting class.
And that's one of the big reasons why I always thought Thomas Dimitrov should have been gone. And I could be wrong in my observation, but it was always as if he was willing to go all in on investing in the offense and just do a half-tailed job investing on defense.
Right.
And that showed in both the Mike Smith era and both the Dan Quinn era. Now let's keep in mind, Dan Quinn and Mike Smith, before they became the Falcons head coach, they were defensive coordinators. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they know what they're talking about in terms of defensive personnel. But outside looking in, it seems as though that Thomas Dimitrov wasn't trying to hear that. It's almost as if his philosophy was, let's just outscore the other team.
Correct. He was very good at drafting position players. The game is the start of winning and losing game begins on the offense and defensive line. And the Falcons never had those two areas with solid players that needed to do what we need to do. Dimitrov was good at drafting running backs and receivers and guys of that nature. He never go out and get what we needed. And Arthur Blank again sat right there and saw that. How is it that we had two top-notch defensive head coaches and our defense was still one of the worst in the league under their coaching here in Atlanta? How is that? How do you allow that?
Go ahead, I'm listening. I got to step away for just one quick second.
But anyway, I've said a lot, man. I'm a frustrated fan while I also am excited. But I just think that unless things change at the head, we're going to continue to get a lot of what we've already gotten. I will also add this with this GM. I've listened to him talk a lot of times, and I've always seen it come away being confused about what he was saying and the direction the team is going in. And number two, I don't particularly like this idea that you draft the best player available. When you got, I think you should draft the best player at your need. The Falcons, yes, they had Wrigley and probably would have had Julio if he didn't want to leave, if he didn't ask to leave. But yet they go out last year and draft a tight end. He proved out to be a good draft, but I mean, my goodness. Man, it's just, I don't know about this GM. I'm going to give him this draft class and see what it does, because last year's draft class that he picked, they didn't do anything.
Well, I mean, it was the first year for the GM and for the coach. I think this year is a better opportunity. Now they figure out what direction they're moving in. Of course, now we got a different coach. I mean, we got a new quarterback coming in. And I think I said earlier, I don't know if you heard that Matt Ryan was not the GM and the head coach's boy. I mean, you know, these guys now, Arthur Smith has an opportunity to pick the quarterback he wants, not his future quarterback, but to pick who he wants to go into next year. Because you got to keep in mind, Arthur Smith is trying to keep a job. Again, I think we need to draft a quarterback in the next year's draft. And like I said,
can I ask you a question? On that point right there, you said you believe Arthur Smith and Terry, Matt was not his guy.
No,
why didn't
they bring him in and they gave Matt a chance?
Okay, but why didn't? So tell me, who you think decision it was for them not to pick a quarterback last year?
Who decision was? I don't know.
I would have to go.
I think it was Arthur Blank.
I would too. I would agree with that. I would think it would be Arthur Blank's decision. You might be right on that, big time. I would go with Arthur Blank because Arthur Blank said, Arthur Blank made that statement that Matt Ryan is a Falcon for life, like he said about Julio Jones. He made some mistakes. Now I see where you're going when you say Arthur Blank is the problem, but I think that Terry Fon and Arthur Smith probably sit down with Arthur Blank and said, "Listen, we got to go in a different direction." And when the quarterback came up from Houston, I mean, it just opened up a whole other can of worms. And then when that happened, I think if that wouldn't have happened, Matt Ryan would still be here this year. So
correct. if they had debacle that situation with Deshaun Watson, Matt Ryan was going to sign that extension, that bonus, and that extension to play that contract out. I'm sorry, man. I'm a business owner, and I just don't believe in hiring people who working for me and not getting the job done. I don't care if I know anything. It's been said that Arthur Blank has his hand in about 13 different businesses. And I know that man is smart enough and good at what he does in picking people that he's not going to continue allow people to fail at their job to the degree where the public is watching every move they make and he not make changes. Why he has done that with the Falcons, I don't know. It has been a problem that I'm tired of.
Well, you heard it, man. I'll give you guys the last comment, a chance for your last comment. We get to wrap this thing up. We've been on that show now for a minute or so. And like I said, the question of the day, we had 3 different questions. One was it a good decision to trade Matt Ryan? And do you think Marcus Mariota, where's my questions? I don't see him up here now. Was Marcus Mariota a good choice? And also, should the Falcons draft another quarterback this year, or should they draft one next year? So you guys list in the comment section. You can actually put your comments in and give us your comment on how you feel about the situation with the Falcons. We're gonna probably have another show and another week. We'll have more to talk about, but since the topic has been so hot about the Falcons and Matt Ryan leaving, like I said, you got some people out there that loves Matt Ryan. You got some people that hate Matt Ryan. I hate to use the word hate, but really disagree and think it's time for him to go big time. This is the first time I really heard him on a show. Out of all the shows we've done, it's the first time I heard him saying that Matt Ryan, it's time for him to go. Your opinion is important out there, Atlanta. If you're watching the show now live or you watch the show later, still put your comment up. The show's going to be online. People can read your comments, and we'll read your comments. And on the next show, we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll contact you to be a part of our next show and put you online, which is live. Guys, give me your final comments on this show and your thoughts of the Falcons and their decision on the upcoming draft. Big time, you go first.
Well, I'm just happy as where we are and going and where we're going to go forward. I've always believe and hope for the best, regardless of how well we do or don't do. I will remain a Falcon fan, as have been for the last 55 years. I love this team. I believe in this team. I like Arthur Blank. I just wish that he will change his approach a little bit, and move people along quicker when things doesn't work out after a period of time.
Okay. Ant, your opinion.
The Broncos, the Colts, the Browns, they all have new quarterbacks. Do not be surprised if they mess around, run the table, and go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if you two have noticed, but that's kind of sort of have been a trend for going on the last decade. A quarterback, well-known quarterback, a franchise quarterback, goes to another team, runs the table, and if anything, go to the Super Bowl. And the Falcons, clearly, they are not in that realm. Now, in terms of saying that Marcus Mariota is a bum, I don't know about that. Well, we got to at least give the man some props for throwing a touchdown pass to himself in the playoffs. Because Steve Young had never done that. All right. Steve Young, he threw a pass to himself, but it was in like the regular season. Ironically, it was against the Falcons. But the Falcons had made their move. I was of the mindset that Matt Ryan will start his career as a Falcon and end his career as a Falcon, and obviously that did not happen. So we will see how things pan out. I don't think that Marcus Mariota is the 100% locked-in guy. So Falcons, hopefully they are keeping their eyes wide open on the NFL draft and see what comes about.
Well, guys, it's been great having you guys on the show tonight. I know we talked a long time, and like I said, we got to start meeting like this again. We've been down for a while due to COVID, and this topic is just a subject that we couldn't just not talk about. And like I said, we want to include Atlanta or anybody else's watchers on the web. If you're in the military or you're out of the country or you want to talk about your Atlanta Falcons, then this is an opportunity for you to to be a part of it. We actually have a live chat line. You can call in on the phone and call us in advance, and we'll set you up for the next show. Or you can actually go online and just chat, put your comments in, put them in the comment box, and we're gonna bring your comment up and give you opportunity to be a part of the show. It's not just about us; it's about everybody in Atlanta. Because I know this was a strong topic of losing Matt Ryan, picking up Mariota, and moving forward with the team due to we're in a complete rebuild as we speak of. But I'm not gonna hold you guys along. It's been a long night, and we're gonna just kind of wind this thing down. And thank you guys for taking your time out your busy night. And had a little technical difficulty earlier to answer, but we got it figured out. Big time. I appreciate you as always, man. We're gonna see you next time, and we're gonna shut this thing down. Thanks again, everybody, and have a good night. All right.